Welcome to Alpha Wolf Trading. Did you know that there's over 12,000 stocks or companies that trade on the OTC? Between the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, you have over 7,000 companies. But us as retail investors, we wouldn't know that unless we were researching. Because why? Wall Street focuses on the elite, the big companies. And where the retail investor has their advantage is in small and micro-cap stocks. Why? Because you have the opportunity to speak directly with leadership. That is what this is all about here at Alpha Wolf Trading. We're trying to find the hidden gems, and we interview the executive teams of companies that we think meet the parameters to be those hidden gems. I also want to make sure you understand that this is not a paid-for promotion. I collect no compensation for the interviews I do here. These companies that I interview have been identified as potential opportunities for me and the members of Alpha Wolf Trading to receive a higher than average return on our investment. These companies I have identified either because of a technical setup on a chart, a fundamental change within the organization, new management team, new products, all kinds of different things that actually lead me here. But what do I think is the most important? Leadership. And that is why I do these interviews. I want to understand what drives the person that is leading the charge. I want to feel their passion. I want to understand their vision and the strategy that they're going to use to achieve success. That is what these interviews are for. I want to understand the share structure and the cap table, the size of the TAM, the total addressable market. This is the opportunity to learn all of those things. So sit back and enjoy. And if you learn anything from today's interview, do us a favor. Subscribe to the Alpha Wolf Trading YouTube channel. Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with another CEO interview, brand new company. I actually have two. I have the CEO and the CFO of OLB.com or OLB Group, right, Inc. And I think it's an interesting story, and that's why we're here. So first off, let me thank both of you for taking the time to come in and share your story with us. Ronny, you're the founder and CEO?
Yes, I'm the founder and CEO. And Tim, first of all, thank you for having us on this interview.
Yeah, thank you.
We really appreciate it. We have a very compelling story that we want to tell. Patrick and myself have been working together on this company for the last over 5 years. And we achieved pretty good goals end of the day. We are a fintech company that specializes in payments. And we have very innovative technologies. And also we have a Bitcoin mining operation that we are about to spin off pretty much, hopefully by end of this year. So Patrick, I would let you talk about it.
We're going to get to those nitty-gritty details in a second here. Also, I've got Patrick Smith. You're the CFO, Patrick, is that correct?
I'm CFO, VP of Finance.
A VP of Finance, okay.
Yeah.
So my first question to you both is, all right, so now you've kind of given me the snapshot of what the company does. You've got a Bitcoin mining operation, and you're kind of a fintech company. You just recently did an acquisition, right?
We did.
Yes.
We did a small acquisition in July. Yes.
Okay, and that was?
Well, we acquired a company called Black 011 that have access to over 32,000 bodegas as far as distributing digital and mobile products. The company has been for a very long time, and we saw it as an opportunity that we can embed our fintech products into all those small locations. That's basically convenience stores and bodegas in this case. And we'll be able to introduce also new products to underbanked community that is a very big population today, especially in today's market.
So you're
Right.
talking, just so I'm clear, with these bodegas, which are just like the local convenience stores in the neighborhood.
Yes, we did not buy the bodegas, but we did have an access and distribution that it's ongoing. And the company that we bought today is running on a run rate of $5 million that it's adding to the top line revenues of our existing revenues.
Okay, and what your primary customer is the underserved, I guess I would say.
Yes.
Yes.
For that channel, yes, for that channel.
For that channel, okay. But overall, you've got a fintech solution that is used elsewhere as well? You have other clients? Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. We are today on pretty much all 50 states. We have over 10,000 merchants that are pretty much on all different type of industries. We do not have any concentration on specific industry. So we're very well diverse, plus we own all the software and applications that we're running through them.
So Patrick, is the software application, is that a software as a service?
That part is the software as a service. Actually, a POS, very similar to like a Shopify or something like that. A system that actually manages everything for a small business, does their inventory, does their processing, does everything. And that's what we're taking that system and we're wanting to, because we are, like Ronnie said, we have around 10,000 merchants. We do about over $1 billion a year in processing volume. So we've got a pretty good base. But we're wanting to take the fintech piece and now put it into the bodegas to create a single system that also can reach out to the bodegas and the underbanked through debit cards and prepaid debit cards and everything. So we're using that channel to increase the fintech piece.
Okay, so is the 10,000 merchants that you have right now, is that primarily internet based, or is that real locations like brick and mortar?
We have both. We have brick and mortar and e-commerce. It was really interesting because we used to be about 50-50 or 60-40 brick and mortar, but then during the pandemic, things shifted dramatically, and we had a lot of people come to us. A lot of people that didn't want to do e-commerce come to us and say, "Hey, I've got to have this now to survive." So there was a dynamic shift that I think helped us in that sense. That it's bad to say, but I mean during the pandemic, but it helped us shift people to the e-commerce piece.
So you bring up a really good point, right? So here's a company that, and I just, so you guys understand, I've always been a fundamental guy. It was always a fundamental guy. I've been doing this for a long time, and a good fundamental story is what appeals to me. But and I could never understand technicals. It didn't make any sense to me. What is looking at a chart going to do to help me understand where a company is going in the future, right? It just could not. But then I took a course 15 years ago and I learned technicals. And now the first thing I do is look at the chart, right? That is the first, because it provides you a snapshot of the health of the company or the direction the company is headed, right? And it's not difficult or challenging right now for anyone that doesn't have technical savvy to see where this chart goes over the long term, right? Over since 2020. When you guys, were you an IPO or were you, how did you reverse?
Many years ago, we used to have investors. We filed pretty much SB2, and we filed pretty much to be a bulletin board company. In 2020, we uplisted from bulletin board to NASDAQ.
Okay. So the stock has had a couple of interesting spikes, right? But the overall trend has been from the upper left to the lower right. That's not difficult to determine. But that is what every chart out there in the small cap world looks like right now. I mean, it doesn't matter. It hasn't mattered for the last 29 months. You can have good news and the stock will go down. Okay, and it's the sector. 90% of stocks are going to follow with the overall sector small caps is doing. And it's been a brutal, I think everyone knows it's been a very brutal time, right? Right now, I think the thing that is hurting small companies the most is the interest rate hike cycle, right? And the capital markets right now, if you're a company that is in dire need of raising capital, you are going to get screwed without question, right? I mean, it's just not a friendly capital market point in time. My question to you guys is how are you sitting on cash? How are you feel about where you're at right now, your balance sheet?
We feel very good about it right now. I mean, the third quarter or second quarter, we put out numbers. We were cash flow positive. We're net income negative still right now, but it's mainly due to depreciation, amortization, and other non-cash events. But we're EBITDA positive, cash flow positive, and I think we're moving in the right direction. And to your point, like you've had some spikes in the we've gone up like real quick and come back down. That's one of the reasons we're splitting the companies apart, because I think with the Bitcoin piece and the fintech piece, I think a lot of people latch on to one or the other when we were trying to bring them together. The spikes up and down have been a lot related to the Bitcoin price. It was at 60, we go up. Bitcoin goes to 17, we go down. Bitcoin right now makes up about 2% of our revenue, but we're still being hit by the perception that we're a Bitcoin dominated company. So that's why we decided, I think it's best to split the companies apart. But I think it's also good to understand, like you were saying, the fundamentals. Fundamentally, we are a fintech company making fintech revenue.
Okay.
And more importantly, since you mentioned that, today is very difficult to raise any money, we don't have any debt. We don't need to raise money. We don't have any outstanding loans in this respect. So we can bear out without raising money, and we're good.
All right, that's important, Ronny. So I think, and this is just from the due diligence, and we've had a conversation before. So you had, along with that Bitcoin piece, the mining piece, right? There were a couple of hiccups along the way in terms of the amount of mining machines you were going to have up and running, right? And that impacted the stock a little bit, right? Where are you at with that? Where is that right now?
The Bitcoin mining, we have the building in Selmer, Tennessee. Last year, we bought a 15,000 square foot building, and it's kind of basically 10,000 square feet is office space, 5,000 was warehouse, which we're actually building out the back to actually do the mining. When we bought it, it had capabilities up to 5 megawatts. We had to finish out some of the electrical stuff. Now we're actually increasing it up to 20 megawatts, which we'll be able to house 5,000 machines in there. We've had issues getting transformers. We've had issues getting copper. We've had issues. There's a lot of things like that we didn't expect in the supply chain. It's taking a lot longer than we want. I mean, I know other people and investors have been questioning why we're moving so slow. Not by choice. I mean, we're not doing this for fun. I mean, it's been things that that was out of our control. So we're at the point now we have all the power run up into the transformers, and now we're moving the power into the building. We have roughly 250 machines running on a daily basis there, and we've had people ask, because we own 1,000 machines, why are the 1,000 not running? It's because the power is not there. It's not like you can go and add another 250 machines tomorrow. We have to make sure all the power gets there first, and that's the process we're in right now.
Right. That makes a lot of sense to me. Just since you are in that stage, that this just came to my head. You guys will find this happens with me a lot. But there's another company out there that has a very new product. It's a commercial product, and it's B-Trans. It's actually a kind of a semiconductor deal for power usage, like what you're doing, called Ideal Power. You might want to just touch base with them. Maybe I'll make an introduction for you guys to see if there's an application there that could help you. But we'll hit that after.
Sure. Yes.
So Tim, let me add another point. The difference between the fintech and the Bitcoin mining. Basically, the Bitcoin mining operation, we went to an independent valuation company to give us an idea of what is the worth of the company. And today, the company itself, it's worth as a standalone company 3 times more than what is the market cap of OLB as a whole, as combined company. So that is one of the reasons that we're splitting those entities.
Okay, and then so when are you looking to actually spin out? That's already in the works? You're looking to spin that out?
Yeah, it's already been filed. We filed confidentially. I think a couple of weeks ago. We're waiting for getting the comments. Once everything is clear, we're going to announce the record date that we're going to do a distribution to the shareholders.
Okay, and you'd like to have this completed by before end of the year?
We hope, but it's not really
Probably
up
not
to
looking.
us. It's, when it comes to the SEC, we are in their mercy.
Okay, okay. So from a technical standpoint, let me tell you guys what I see. Okay.
Sure.
So the stock has been in a downtrend, but in the last, since there's this point right here. If you go back to June, right, you had this low point, and then you came back down and you retested that low point. And you're actually just kind of, I like to call it trading in a box, right? And the reason I say that is because the sellers, it looks like the sellers are gone, and there's really no buyers. There's nobody that's in control of the stock right now, right? It's just kind of vacillating sideways. And if you take a look at where you're at fundamentally, right, you've got some things that could be catalysts that if you execute, most likely will break it out of the box one way or another, right? So if you do wind up doing the spinoff, and maybe you have some other news events between now and the end of the year, this is just a building a platform is what I call it, right? This is kind of like the wider this base gets, the higher the space when it breaks, whatever direction. So if it goes down, it's painful because you lose. What happens with the technical guys is when you close below a specific area, like if you were to close below your all-time 52-week low, that says to the technical guys, the bottom's not in, right? They don't know where the bottom is, and it's still discovering that. If it holds here and you wind up breaking out and closing above, let's call it 75 cents or so. Actually, I'm just going to bypass that. Round numbers matter, right? So the $1 mark, have you received the you're on the NASDAQ, right? Is that where you're at? The NASDAQ?
NASDAQ, yes.
Right. So you've already have you received the notification for 180 days to get your price back? Right. So you got to do that for 10 days, 10 consecutive days, right? And then it resets the clock. If you don't manage to do that in the 180-day period, that's okay, because you can file to get another 180 period, right? But with what you've got coming up, the spin out, right? So just actually, I'm kind of curious now because I didn't think about that till now. If you spin off the company, right? Are you thinking of incorporating a reverse split at that time to adjust for the stock price?
Well, we hope we're not going to get to this point that we have to do a reverse split. But we hope also when we start announcing, from today, we can say for sure that everyone that has a share at OLB is going to get pro rata the same amount of shares at DMint.
Okay.
100% of the shares are going to the current shareholders of OLB once we announce the shareholder date. So it's a no-brainer. Basically, you get 2 shares for 1 price.
All right, so I want to highlight that for sure, right? So the company is going to be called DMint, right?
DMint, yes. Digital minting.
Okay, digital mint. I got it. So and that spin out, for every share that you have of OLB, you're going to get a share of DMint.
Yes.
Okay,
That's a pro rata share. Pro rata share, yeah.
Right. So that's pretty important, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's to Ronnie's point. You're getting 2 for 1 right now. You're getting 2 companies for one share, basically, for one price.
For one undervalued stock, right?
Correct.
Right.
We have one analyst that is covering us. He gave us coverage of $3 a share for OLB itself. So.
Okay. So let me ask you this. What are you, so it's been, would you say that going through a pandemic and then having the worst supply chain issues in the history of mankind, and then having the fastest interest rate hike cycle, in the history of mankind, is a challenging business environment.
Been very, very challenging, actually. Very uniquely challenging.
Right.
Actually, during the pandemic, we managed, we used to have back then a $13 million debt loans that we managed to pay them off. So that was a very good day for us, so today we are like zero debt in this case.
So here's the challenge with, and this is why I do what I do, is Wall Street's kind of broken in a way, because you can have a good company that's executing, that the big funds aren't going to be messing with you guys. They can't. They're too big, right? So you can't get any coverage. How do people find a company like you, right? How do they find a company that has no debt, that has, a good strategy to grow their business, that provides a service to, I would think, a community or a group of people that need that service, right? Is the underserved, the underbanked, right? So the problem is there's really no way for people to find a company like you, because you can't get covered by anybody on Wall Street unless you do a financing deal. And the financing deals are so horrendous, you wouldn't want to do the financing deal anyway, right? You're in a unique company that's in a good position. You're about to do a transformative spinoff, right? And define the two companies. And you're in the midst, doing this in the midst of what I would consider to be one of the most brutal small cap markets I've seen really in my whole career. I have not seen it this long in duration. And now we're getting to stupidity levels in terms of valuations for some companies, I think, right? You overstretch to the upside, and now we've overstretched to the downside. Companies are executing and they're not being rewarded by Wall Street at all, right? And I don't think that sustains unless this is the end of the world. If it's the end of the world, who cares? It's the end of the world, right? I mean, that is not where I think the animal spirits will come back again. The companies that have weathered this storm, and not just weathered the storm, but gotten stronger. Do you feel as though you've gotten stronger over the last 12 months as a company?
As far as execution, we are executing pretty much right on target. What is in our plan? I mean, pretty much we set the target of the spin-off. We set the target of moving the location of the Bitcoin mining from natural gas to kind of carbon neutral and green energy, and pretty much we're doing all the steps that we are executing. Sometimes there is things that are not in our control, but we are in a good path as far as the execution of the fintech part. I mean, the last acquisition is very exciting for us. We pretty much have the ability of providing mobile services, mobile top-ups, gift cards. We're partnering with 20 very large digital assets companies. And, we have great partners in this thing that we are distributing.
Patrick, let me ask you, how did you both get into this field? I mean, what was it how did you land here?
Oh, okay. Patrick's background is totally different than mine. So let me start with mine. I mean, my background came as doing printing, and back then when it was barely internet, we did a lot of mail order catalogs and e-commerce. So when the internet came in, we pretty much transformed the largest catalogs that we did from print to digital and e-commerce. And until we got to a point that we got like really big customers like AT&T, we did for them almost like Amazon for their own employees. And then that's how I started raising money and pretty much getting our own platform that's called ShopFast for e-commerce. And we that extended to the point of sale system and other mobile services. Patrick, maybe you can say about yourself and totally different background.
Yeah, I right out of college in the late '90s, I started working with a company called Concord EFS, and it was a payments company. And at that time, from at that time, their stock was doing really well. They were a Wall Street darling, but we were still a small company. I think we're about 800 million market cap, 300 people. Then the company took off and it started doing really well. We bought, if you look on the back of cards, they say like the Star Network, the Star Debit Network on the back of, we bought that. That was ours. And then we grew, like First Data was #1 and we were #2. And First Data bought us in 2004. First Data purchased us. At that time, I stayed in the payments industry because I really liked this industry. And I started working with some startups on the West Coast. One was a biometric systems where you put your finger down and you do payments with your fingerprint. We raised $400 million on that, and it honestly didn't work. So it just kind of blew up. But yeah, you can read on that one. But I just really like the industry. I've stayed in it. I think it's everything's going to electronic payments. I mean, it's going to either a card or electronic version. So I've always thought it was like very fast-paced, very technical-based banking. That's just kind of the way the money's going. That's the way the transaction's going. I've just always really enjoyed it. I've known Ronny. We met just through
probably 15 years. We know each other.
15 years, and I was working with a company, and it was a small payments company, but they were public, and they hit some financial times that the company was doing okay, but they couldn't pay off their debt. So we led the company through a sell, and I knew Ronny. I knew his company. So I said, I think it'd be good to take the payments piece and match it up with the software that he had. And that in 2018, that's what we did.
Okay. All right. So you guys have been working together for quite a while.
We have.
Okay. And so Patrick, what would you say about Ronny that as a leader is what appeals to you most about Ronny as a leader?
I always like the fact he's very detail oriented and he pushes, and he knows he pushes quite a bit sometimes, but I think it's the way we get stuff done. I mean, I think he stays kind of behind everybody in a very polite way, but we get everything done. I think he likes to execute. I've worked with a lot of people that we could draw a lot of stuff on boards that look fantastic, and we walk away and they stay on the board and it never happens. I think Ronny's pretty good at the execution piece, which I think we've discussed here. We're still executing on certain things, but I think that's what we need to do, and I think that's what he does well.
So I think it's important to note that, especially when you're an investor, maybe investors really need to work on patience, right? Because I don't care what it is in life. Many times you can have the greatest idea. It always takes longer than you anticipate it's going to take, right? There are things that you can control and can't control, like the Bitcoin mining and having 1,000 machines up. Look, you can't run the power yourself. If you could, it'd be done, right? But there are other pieces that you have to rely upon. So having patience, I think, as an investor is a really, really key component. And this society, today's world, a lot of, especially the younger generation, they have no patience. They want instant gratification, like right now, right? And that I think, because of the internet and all of that, we need to work on our patience a lot more, right? And understand where the company is, what the goal is, and then more importantly, do they execute? Do they do what they say they're going to do? It may not be within the time frame that you thought it was going to happen, but they do what they say they're going to do. That's what really ultimately matters, right?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think execution is the best part. I mean, you can, like you said, you can have a fantastic product, but if you never execute and you never sell and you never get a revenue off of it, it's an idea. So executing is just as important as the idea.
How many people are in the company? How many employees do you guys have?
I think we have right now around 35.
35?
Yeah.
And we have additional 50 in India that are doing the operation of the software as well.
Right.
Okay. And where do you foresee needing to add salespeople with the acquisition that you've done?
Yes. So the plan is with the bodega and convenience stores, the plan is to put foot on the ground. Very much people work with the tablets, sign them up for new services, and pretty much get new perspective on products that we have product offering. we're planning to launch end of the year, beginning of next year, a card that's a prepaid debit card. So for somebody that doesn't have an account, in literally 5 minutes, they can open an account. Once they have the account, they can get discounts on all the products that we're offering. And that would give them the ability to send money, and create another copy card to their relatives, even if it's offshore.
Okay. So that is an, so what are you going to be introducing again? You said the cloud? Is that what you said?
The card.
The card.
It's a debit card that basically instantly, even before you get the plastic itself, you'll be able to use it on your iPhone and Android phone and pay your bills.
Okay, so I agree with you 100%, Patrick, that everything's going to digital, right? So,
yeah.
I have to admit, though, the Bitcoin thing, I really screwed up on the Bitcoin thing. I went to this course and I tried to learn what Bitcoin was when it first came out. And they're talking about this wallet. I mean, and I'm thinking to myself, there is no way in hell this thing's going anywhere. This is like a fad. I really, in my head, thought that because it was too complicated. It was too complex. I couldn't see grandma setting up her wallet. I just could not see people doing it. But as NFTs and all this stuff is starting to come out, and I'm understanding. And then I think about just me, my friends. When you go out and you ask some, you need cash for something. Who's got cash? Like nobody. Nobody's got cash on them, right? It's either the debit card or the credit card. I rarely use cash anymore or carry cash. So digital is absolutely where everything is going, right?
Absolutely.
Yes,
I mean, I don't have any cash in my wallet. I don't have even checks. I don't have a checkbook, everything is electronic.
Yeah, what's balancing a checkbook anymore? I mean, remember that? I used to have to balance my checkbook every month. And I haven't done that in I don't know how long, right? It's so much.
And I was at the grocery store and a lady was writing a check. She's an older lady writing a check, and I asked the cashier, I was like, how often does this happen? And the girl was looking at it, she's like, I haven't seen a check in like 2 or 3 months. So everybody's so shocked, but everything's going digital and electronic. That's just the way it's going.
It's the way it's going. And I would say the biggest challenge is to go into a complete digital currency is the unbanked, right?
Correct.
That is the biggest challenge, because how do you go to a system like that when they don't own a credit card? Some of them don't have a driver's license, right? I mean,
and that's where we come in. And I think with what you just purchased is you have people like that. You can't use cash to pay for something on Amazon, just to use for an example. So you have to go to a place like the bodegas. You have to take a certain amount of cash and you place it on a card, a prepaid debit card. And then at that time, you've taken your cash and you digitalized it. So you can take that card at that point. Then you can go on somewhere like Amazon and buy something. So that's one of the services we're offering that we'll be able to offer with the card that Ronny was speaking about.
And then you have certain products that they'll be able to get discounts, if I heard Ronny correctly, automatic or immediately, right? Because of the card, the tie that you have in.
So Tim, just to give you an idea, that's close to 6 million people in the US don't have bank accounts.
Right.
But they can still initiate a prepaid debit card that they can use. And if they have cash, they can take the cash and give it to the bodega owner. He can load them immediately to their card.
Okay.
And keep reloading them too. They can bring more cash in and reload it again.
So
and you got to think of it, looking at our company, we're a transaction-based company. We make money off transactions. So when somebody loads it, we make money. When somebody uses the card, we make money. That's what we do. We're transaction-based.
So are you also like a Cash App or
Yes. So that's a similar situation. Yes.
Okay, so I can send through your card. I can send cash to a friend of mine, or
yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I mean that to me is that's not going away, right? The need for that isn't going away. There are a lot of different. What would you say is the differentiator for you guys? Because there are a lot of different Cash App software related companies out there. What makes OLB different?
Well, as a starter, the benefit that we have is the physical locations of those bodegas that we have access to distribution. And we've been offered many times already, to distribute digital products like this through our network, and we want to hold it for ourselves. The same way we get offers from people that are doing cash advance to our merchants, to give them the listings. We see it as a very valuable asset that we own in this respect.
So you kind of like a Western Union, right? In a way.
Well, we're not Western Union because their focus is really moving money from countries and places like this. We use the services of a bank to do that. But in this, we have all the software network that is kind of executing and initializing those things.
I guess maybe that was a bad because it is international. But what I'm thinking is you provide the opportunity for people to take their cash in and then be able to, and there's a lot of locations to be able to do that. Is essentially what you become, right? Instead of a Western Union where you have to go in and take your cash to, you're making that very acceptable.
So here's an idea. For example, if somebody in New York has a family in Puerto Rico and they want to give them $50 to get groceries, we do it from the bodega. They push the money from the bodega. The person gets there immediately on the card that he can buy groceries at the local bodega.
Exactly. Perfect. That's guys. That's exactly. I mean, that's a very convenience. It's a convenience thing, right?
Right.
Yes.
And I think that is a very needed thing, and that's also the thing that, because how do you identify these people that don't have a credit card, don't have a driver's license? That's a whole market that I don't think anybody knows. I think you have very little data on because you can't collect data on them, right? It's impossible. So there's a whole market there that needs services in order to be able to go to a completely digital economy. It has to happen that way, right? And you're kind of bridging that gap. Right?
We are bridging the gap, I think, with the technology that we already have and now the technology we've purchased. I think we're bringing them together to do one thing in that situation, to provide the money transfer, to provide the card, to do everything in one shot.
Right. So to me, that sounds like a needed business, and it sounds like you're positioned well to make that happen. So what in the next 6 to 12 months, what are you most excited about? Are you guys excited? Because you're kind of
we're very excited. We are very excited. The thing is, we're excited about the two prime things is the spinoff, because we hope finally each one of those entities is going to get justice to the valuation that they really deserve. The second thing is really executing on this underbanked community that has opening so many opportunities for us already. So those are the two prime things.
all right, Patrick. You're excited.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm pumped. So yeah,
Very serious guys. You know that, right?
I think we're not as serious as we look sometimes, I guess, but we try to come across that way. No, I think Ronnie's right. I think that's the two best things. One, getting the company split, DMint into one, OLB into one, I think Ronnie used a good description. It kind of gives a good justification of the company. So we're looking to get that done. The bodega is really exciting because even as we dig into it more, we have this channel that we can go after now. We're finding new things like what you can do with the cards, how you approach the people, other things we can offer them. It's really interesting because it's I hate to say it this way, the bodegas are a very low tech group of people. They're very not. So when you go in there, you can take almost a different approach to it of saying you can take technology at a very low level and solve a very basic problem, which is very interesting. And I like that.
Right. No, that is interesting. And I think, they may be low tech, but for a lot of the people in those neighborhoods, that's, they go into those places 6-7 times a week, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
They're literally there almost every day, right?
Exactly. The foot traffic in them is very, very high, and it's repeat. It's the same people because they're based in neighborhoods. They get the same people coming in and out and everything. So it's very, you're exactly right. So
Right. It's like and then if you get into that and you I mean you're building I would think a pretty loyal customer base, right?
and that's what Ronnie was saying, feet on the street. That is one of the ways you get to this group of people is you have to have somebody go in there, talk to them face to face, shake their hand and say, hey, this is what we're doing. So it's just part of that niche. Like if we're selling to a software company, very different. We can do things over the phone. We can do that. It's just very different. But the bodegas, we've got to have people actually talking to them. And I think that's very important.
All right. So you're good on cash. You do not, I think Ronnie made that pretty clear. You do not have to raise capital. There's no hint of that on the horizon, right?
Correct.
Yes, it's always good to have cash. Usually you raise money when you don't need money.
All right. So if I were to try to convey to the viewers one thing, right, as to why they should consider taking a gamble on investing in OLB, what would that one thing be?
I mean, basically totally undervalued if you look at our peers. We trade on a very low multiple. It's like almost no multiple in this case. And, once we do the spinoff, you're going to get additional share for the same price.
That's a really good reason, Ronnie. So the way I look at it, and I was kind of going to the technicals a little bit here, but if this base continues and you're looking at what is that, 50 cents that we're basically kind of sitting right around, or 59 cents, right? So 60 cents is kind of where you've been building this base. The way I view it, and I don't tell anybody what to buy or sell. All I do is present the story and say, for me, what's my risk reward at this level? Now, I know a spinoff is coming. I'm going to get another additional share for every share that I own. And the way I look at it is, the overall market is in a funky place. Everyone thinks we're heading into a recession. I went to an in-person conference and I asked literally every person that I could get contact with, and there was a lot of people there, if we were going into a recession. And everyone said, yes, we're going into a recession. Well, I'm looking at that room. There's 300 people, investors. I've known some of these people a long time, and they used to be risk takers. And right now, they've pulled in their horns. Their money is on the sidelines. They're not doing anything because they're waiting for this other shoe to drop. I think we've been in a recession. The indicators that they use to identify a recession don't work the way they should because we're not back to full employment from pre-COVID days, right? In a lot of sectors, we're not back to full employment. So if you want a job, you can get a job. It's not your career of choice, but you can work, right? So I think the unemployment number is going to be difficult to drive higher, which the Fed likes to see, right? Keep raising rates. Here's my belief. We're heading into an election year. The Fed may raise the rate one more time, but I don't think he's going to raise the rate through an election year. I think for 12 months, he's going to stand pat. And if that's the case, I would say that's cause for a celebration in the marketplace because rates are going to stay where they are, right? So if we get through tax loss selling, which is this next month, right? Then what happens? Maybe we have a Santa Claus rally because people start positioning for the new year. You get that Santa Claus rally. I don't think it's just going to be a Santa Claus rally. I think it will be the turn because of the fact that we're also in this election year and interest rates stay where they are. This is just my theory, but I think we're positioned for a rip your face off violent and vicious rally in the markets. And then people will be saying, well, man, I missed that move. I'll wait for the pullback. I don't think the pullback's going to come. I think people are going to start to recognize that the recession isn't going to come. It's already been here, right? And there are a lot of things happening. I'm in Vegas. I don't know about you guys, but there's talks of another tower going up over by Fashion Show Mall. There's a local casino that's going to build a $270 million tower, additional tower on the south end of the strip. There's a lot of stuff going on that is not indicative of a recession coming, right? These are not things that you do when there's a recession looming. I think there's a lot of positive things happening in the country. Nobody talks about it, right? We've got semiconductor plants being built in the US. I can't even think of the last time that happened, right? So lots of good things happening that are being overlooked. And you guys are in this like sweet spot of the Bitcoin. I mean, I'm seeing all these ads lately about how the US dollar is going to evaporate and digital currencies are where everything's going. I don't think, do either one of you think Bitcoin or Ethereum or digital currency is going to go away completely?
I don't think digital currency is going to go away. It would be just few coins that are going to be really valuable coins, like you mentioned Bitcoin and Ethereum. The rest of them, most of them, going to vanish in some point of time, and all pretty much the scale is going to be wiped out in this case. But let me tell you, we are ourselves, we buy more stock of the company as well. So even that we are insiders, we buy more stock when there's no black period.
What's your view on it, Patrick? What do you think?
I think digital currency, the Bitcoin, all that, I think it's very early on in the market or the industry itself. It's such a young industry. It's got so much growth to go through. There's going to be regulation. There's going to be smooth out periods. Things are going to work. Things are going to fail. But I mean, it's just not going to go away. I think more stuff is going to go to digital currencies. I really do. I mean, I think that's where the market's headed.
Right. And I tend to agree with you. Having what was the bank that just went under, right? The big blow up. What was the company? FTX or FX? FTX. Yeah. I think that didn't help the industry, right?
But the thing about that, what's been so hard for us to understand, like our stock took a hit for that. That was an exchange. We have nothing to do with that. We're minting Bitcoin. We're just doing our own thing. That's like us getting hit because Chevrolet's cars don't work or something like that. It makes no sense to associate the two because it doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing.
Right. That was a bank that took a bad investment. Is the way I look at it, right? Yeah. They made a bad investment. They went all in, and they probably shouldn't have done that. So I don't see that as being. I mean, there are going to be good businesses and bad businesses. That's going to happen no matter what, right?
I think in a young market like this, you're going to have things that get exposed. People are going to try the market with it. They're going to try to do things the right way, and some people are going to try to do it the wrong way. And you're going to have people get exposed for doing it the wrong way. That's what happened. But it's going to smooth out into a mature industry. I think we're a little ways off from that, but I think that's where we're headed to. And it's going to be hiccups along the way. But I mean, it's going that direction.
Okay. All right. Listen, guys, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I think it's an interesting business. I think you guys are executing. I don't think many people know about you. I think you have a real nice catalyst on the horizon here. Once, Patrick, when do you think the power done now in order for you to be able to? No,
it's still in the works right now as we talk. We're still adding the power, the lines and everything inside the building.
Well, at the moment, we are the mercy of TVA, the local power company.
Yeah, and it's not just the power. I mean, to run those machines, you have to put big vents on the ceiling to have the fans to pull the heat out. So it's almost like building with Legos. You got different steps you got to do to get to what you want, and we're just in that process.
Are you still seeing supply chain issues?
Not as much. One of the reasons we're not seeing the same supply chain issues is because we have what we need now. So we're not ordering more transformers. So it could still be out there. We're just not seeing it the same way.
Okay. All right. What do you see as potential hiccups? Ronnie, what keeps you up at night? Is there anything that keeps you up at night?
Well, it's every day. If there's a new issue, that's what keeps me up. I forget the old one.
What about you, Patrick?
Just the unknown. I mean, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. For one thing, there could be regulation changes or something like that. But I mean, I think what keeps me up at night the most is just trying to figure out to solve the problems we currently have. So I mean, it's hard to keep visioning other problems when you got problems you need to figure yourself out. I mean, so that's kind of where we're at right now.
All you can do is control the things you can control.
That's it. So
I mean, that's it. So as long as you continue to execute, which I think you've already emphasized is an important thing to do. As long as you continue to execute, eventually things work themselves out, right?
Yeah. So Tim, let me mention. I mean, we have a great team of people in the company that have been working for us over 5 years, and some of them are even working for us way longer than I acquired the company. So everybody knows his job in excellent way.
we do. We have a good core group of people. We really do.
Good team.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
And that's really, it always comes down to people for me.
Right.
Yeah.
It always comes down to people. That's who make things happen within companies. It's the product or service, that's great, but it ultimately always comes down to the people. And so just out of curiosity, are there insiders that are currently buying the stock in the open market?
Yeah, myself.
Ronnie and I, we both are. So
okay, and are there stock options given to any of the employees?
Well, we prepared the stock option plan, and once we have the spinoff, we're going to do on both companies the stock option plan as well.
Okay. See, I love seeing participation across the board, right?
Yes.
That way, everybody in the company everybody.
Yeah, definitely that is part of it, and that's why we're doing on both companies. We have employees on both ends, DMint and OLB as well. So
that's awesome. Okay, that's I love hearing that. All right, listen. So this is what I want to do. This is the introductory, right? So what should investors be looking for to be able to say, okay, these guys are executing, they're doing what they said they're going to do? What milestones should they be looking for?
well, I would say as a starter, I encourage everybody to look at the next earnings call that we have. We're going to have some updates. As far as performance, we had a rough quarter on the first quarter that was a reaction of that we had to terminate some merchants from the acquisition that we purchased in end of 21, and now we're balancing those numbers and bringing them back to fruition. So.
Okay, so the numbers from the acquisition are starting to funnel in, getting a clearer picture of what that is bringing to the table, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. And when is that? When are your earnings going to be reported?
I believe around November 15th.
Yeah, before the dates too. I mean, we don't really have a date set yet, just before the 15th.
Okay, perfect. Maybe after you guys report, maybe we come back and do a little follow-up so that we can talk a little bit more about what's going on there, right?
Absolutely. That'd be great.
Okay, perfect. All right, guys. Thank you so much for.
Tim, thank you for your time.
Yeah,
you bet. So listen, I want to make sure everybody knows the ticker symbol is OLB, traded on the NASDAQ, right? You guys have an investor alert service, I'm sure.
Yes.
You have that they can go to at your website, go sign up and get press releases sent directly to them.
Yes. So you can sign up in investors.olb.com. There's a link that you can put your email address and information, and we can alert you notices.
Okay, perfect.
If not, you can reach out to ir@olb.com and Rick Lutz.
You guys have a good guy. I'm not sure. Is he all right? Oh, there he is right there, Rick Lutz. Rick, your microphone's off. Your microphone is off.
I do not want to be a distraction, but anybody has any questions, please send them into investor relations at OLB or ir@olb.com. And you can give us a call anytime. The key point, I think, in the summation here is that OLB is trading at a price to sales ratio of about 0.3 times sales, not 1 time sales, 0.3 times sales. And this is at some point, the OLB will be announcing, as per SEC guidelines, you have to have a shareholder record date announced for the spinoff of DMint. At that point, that will be an announcement, and shareholders, the current shareholders will know they are going to get shares, and there will be a point in time where new shareholders, new buyers, new investors can get in and get that distribution automatically. That's in the future. We have no time frame. We like Ronny mentioned, the SEC controls a lot of that timing, and but the intent is that we do this as soon as possible. It will be spun off. OLB shareholders will get their shares. This is one of the sum of the parts is more than what the whole is trading at currently. And then the impression is that like Patrick has mentioned, we have when we reach out to a research analysts and firms, there's a controversy sometimes because they don't know who is assigned OLB coverage. One side will say, "Oh, you seem like you're a fintech payments company." Oh, and then sometimes that, but well, you're also in Bitcoin mining. Like Patrick said, our revenues, OLB's revenues, are over $30 million without any real significant Bitcoin mining revenue. So you have a payments fintech company around 30 million in revenue, and the overall market cap of the company currently is like $10 million. So there's an obvious upside, but the spin here is of the spinoff is significant, because if anyone wants to have a pure play in Bitcoin mining, they will get it if they own OLB prior to the shareholder record date, and they'll get that automatically. If you want a payments company, you buy OLB, and you could sell your DMint spinoff later on. So at some point, there is going to be a revelation, like you mentioned, Tim. There's going to probably be a revelation that risk capital will be going back into the market, and people do like spinoffs. They like spinoffs because they get one purchase, 2 sets of stock.
Right.
So that's just I've stayed out of the conversation, but I'll end with that.
So that's Rick Lutz. That's the IR department. When you want to get in touch with the company, Rick's very responsive. Actually, Rick is why Ronny and Patrick are here. So Rick got my attention with this, and thank you, Rick. You're a good guy.
And Rick is even more serious than me and Ronny. So.
All right, guys. Look, I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm going to get this edited. Hold on one second. Is there, unless you feel as though I missed anything?
I think we did good. I think you did a real good job.
You covered pretty good. Thank you.
All right. Hold on one second. Hey there. Thanks for tuning in to yet another exclusive CEO and CFO interview here at Alpha Wolf Trading. Today we had Ronny Yakov and Patrick Smith of OLB Group, Inc. Ticker symbol OLB. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, do us a favor. Give us a like. How about giving us a share? And while you're at it, why not give us a follow? Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Trading wishes you the very best of success.